Oddly enough, I think life for me wasn't as bad as it was for everybody else around me before I went inpatient. I have an alarming family tree when it comes to addicts. I lost my father to cirrhosis, and I also lost my mom's sister to cirrhosis. Yet, despite watching both of them die, essentially, I was still able to tell myself I really didn't have a problem. I drank really heavily starting 2015, and it just kept getting worse. And finally, in January of 2021, I realized that I could not quit by myself, and so that's when I went to TW. My mom, the fall before I went to TW, had started looking around for treatment options because again, she'd watched her sister die. She and my father were no longer together, but she saw him die as well, and she was afraid of losing me. And I was in really bad shape. So I definitely owe my mom all the credit for finding TW, for a place for me to go. When I got there, I was scared to death, which I realized soon into the program is not uncommon. I didn't know what I'd gotten into. More importantly, I recognized that this was serious, that I really did suffer, have an addiction to alcohol, and that this meant that I was going to have to actually do something about it and change. I was terrified, but everybody there was really lovely. One of the PAs who is still there, Penny, really kind of took me under her wing because she saw how scared I was. And so the first week, a lot of it was detox. And so a lot of that I don't necessarily remember fully, other than just feeling like I was in a place where I was safe, and where I could just let things happen, because I'd kind of already put it out of my control. Week two, definitely a lot more alert. Started really paying attention, realizing very belatedly, oh, okay, I am an alcoholic. This is pretty problematic use. A lot of times in inpatient, we do what's called comparing out, is when people look at each other's usage patterns. It's almost like kids in kindergarten, like learning about each other, and oh, this is how we are. These are the rules in which we operate. And mostly it was just that sense of community, like it's okay because there are other people here like me. There are other people here who are struggling and didn't know how to stop it and have asked for help. So I really started kind of coming out of my shell and going, yep, my name's Sherry and I'm an alcoholic. Week three, so I have observed both when I was an inpatient and working in outpatient, is about halfway through inpatient, you start to feel really at home there. For example, you might have a calendar and start crossing off the days. The first day you're there, the second day, okay, I've only got 29 days to go, 28 days to go. Something about the halfway mark though, you're like, oh, I've only got 14 days left. I've only got 13 days left. And I think that speaks to the program, just knowing, again, that you're safe there, that you have people who understand you, that are going to help take care of you, that are going to teach you the things you need to know. So week three is also, you're kind of paying a lot more attention to the things they're teaching you because you know that you're going to have to go home soon. Final week for me was definitely really sort of a week of giving back. Like I, knew people would come in and I'd see that they were just as afraid as I'd been, so I'd kind of take them under my wing and, help them acclimate. I concentrated on, spending time with the people that I'd met there, because you do make close friends when you're an inpatient. And what are you doing afterward? What are you doing after? So it's kind of comparing out, but in terms of what does your aftercare plan look like? And I was really sad when I left. I won't lie, because I was leaving a cocoon, that's for lack of a better description. And it's like, okay, I'm getting shunted back into the real world. Now how am I going to operate? My counselor set me up with an IOP. And so I did IOP, I saw a therapist, and I did smart recovery. And so I was able to continue the momentum. And I think that was the biggest thing I was afraid of coming out, is that I would lose that sense of momentum, that I wouldn't be able to live a successful, sober life outside of inpatient. But, everything I learned and everything that my counselor set up for me really positioned me to do well those first few months out. So as part of that first few months out, I knew I wanted to make a career change. My former career, I feel like I was good at it. I didn't love it. And being in TW and benefiting so much from the counseling I got, again, not just from my clinician, but from others in group settings, even in passing, even if I was just having a need, somebody would stop and say, hey, you look like you need some help, what's going on? So I knew that that was something I definitely wanted to explore. I also wanted to work in the field of substance use because I thought, you don't recover until you're ready to, but at the same time, if I can help give somebody the prompts and the things to think about and the perspectives that can get them more ready to be there or to gain some sort of internal motivation, in addition to any external motivation they have, I think that would be great. And that was my thinking at the time. If I can combine, a degree with what I've learned, from being somebody in a recovery, I feel like I could really help people. So I looked around for career options and decided to go back to school to get my Master of Social Work. I got it from the University of Kentucky. I did it all online, started that June. So I got out of TW on February 17th, 2021, and started my master's program that June. So it goes without saying that if TW had had its IOP when I got out, I absolutely would have gone to this one. I've been so pleased and honored to have been part of this since last March when it really kind of kicked in. One of two counselors here that we got to get this off the ground. It was really cool because we're both in recovery, so we know what people need and what they want. And what we really wanted to make sure is that we kept that TW feel, because TW, like I said, I've worked at other inpatients and they're fantastic. Everyone has its own personality. TW has that sort of like smaller community feel, which I think is really important in helping people, get to know each other more quickly, get to learn each other's story, get comfortable offering and receiving feedback, or just plain support. IOP groups are just such an amazing microcosm of society, I feel, because everybody feels like they're on a level playing field. It doesn't matter what you used or how you got here. We're all here in the same place, and addiction is the great equalizer. So what we do in these groups is really try to, what we call, give the group a chance to group, which is we introduce a topic or we start asking questions, and then they're talking to each other. And that dialogue is so empowering and so important, and they gain so much from each other. We have people who did not come through TW that kind of cold called and said, hey, I want to start an IOP. And after their first or second session in group, they're usually like, wow, I actually feel like I belong somewhere. I finally feel like people understand me. I'm not being judged. And as a clinician, I'm getting the goosebumps right now. That is just like the best feeling in the world. It's like, okay, we are doing this. We are helping people. They are learning things. And it's awesome. I cannot possibly overstate that enough. I've had an incredible experience working here. I am going to be leaving, but that's because I'm moving into private practice, which was another long-term goal of mine. I'm actually getting there a lot sooner than I thought I would, and in part that's because of all the people I've been able to see through TW, and just getting to know what my therapeutic style is, and what, the most important thing is what tools can I give them to empower them to help themselves? Because a therapist cannot change your life, but a therapist can help you find new perspectives on what you need out of your life. So I'm going fully into private practice. And again, I wanted to give back. And I'm going to give a shout out to my counselor from when I was inpatient, Nicole. She actually now works here in the IOP. And so when she came aboard, it was like everything came full circle for me, and it just felt so good. So yeah, I'm going to miss working with TW patients, but I'm always going to be a very proud alumna of TW and always recommend the program, 100%.